All right, women pretending to be men that are pretending to be women. Did I get that right? Watch.
All right, let's do some gender math today because 2 plus 2 does not equal 4 right now because what I'm about to say is about to be very confusing. Brace yourself. So 2 women on OF dressed up as trans women to boost their numbers. Let's just say there was some outrage coming from men who identify as women, upset at women pretending to be, I'm confused. They're upset at women pretending to be men, pretending to be women. Okay, hold on, I need a calculator for this one. They responded saying, seeing cis girls showing their dildos, you know what I mean, in their pants and pretending to be trans women for money makes me so annoyed. My gender isn't your costume. Right. I think that's kind of been our point. I think they're getting a glimpse of what women have been saying for years about how they feel. Our identity is not a costume and it's not something you can just put on for effect. And now, ironically, the people who dismiss that point are experiencing how it feels. I told you this one would be confusing.
Okay, let me explain it to you because you didn't sign up for algebra class. All right, so these women pretended to be men pretending to be women, and the men who pretend to be women are outraged because how dare a woman assume their gender and their... I'm sorry I ever brought you into this. All right, women pretending to be men that are pretending to be women.
Good morning, Patriots. How you doing today? Does your head hurt now? we got women on OnlyFans pretending to be men, pretending to be women, and the men pretending to be women are upset that the women pretending to be men, pretending to be women are pretending to be men, pretending to be women because it's stealing their identity. Is this what the Bible said? What the Bible said in the end times, that the right will be wrong and the wrong will be right, and the right wrong will be wrong right, and the wrong right will be right wrong? You know, I think I mentioned this before that there's a person my wife knows that is female and she's pregnant and she lives with her husband, but she is gay and she's a gay lesbian trans person, and her husband is gay and trans. So she's the boy and he's the girl, and they're married. I'm just saying, this it's, at least you're putting a square peg in a square hole, if you know what I mean. Other than that, I have no comment. I have not only do I not have comment, but I do not have any idea. I just don't. And with that, this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. And the word of the day is given by the Lord, is presented by Marine in the Woods, is Mark 11:12 through 26. That's Mark 11:12 through 26. I just don't know, ladies and gentlemen. You may not be wrong, but you ain't right. You're right. There's something going on. The meth ain't mathing. ABC ain't adding up. It's ladies and gentlemen, Houston, we have a problem. That's all I got to say about that. Is Houston, we have a problem. You know, who's the peg? Well, evidently, since they're producing a child, you've already got that figured out. I don't know that they have it figured out, but you have it figured out. Oh, my goodness. Anyways. What a world we're messed up. We are living in a messed up world. So as I was going through last night, or this morning, it was this morning. I was doing it last night too, but it was this morning. Setting up my show. The Lord spoke to me about something, and I went to go post it on Facebook, tried to type it out, and it wasn't coming. No, he didn't want me to do it on Facebook. He wanted me to do it here. By the way, it's Friday. We're live on all the channels. So if you want to come join me on all the channels, let me just tell you, if you're watching on Facebook, the only reason I'm on Facebook or YouTube right now is to remind everybody that I'm always on Rumble Links in the description section. Go watch me on Rumble. Rumble supports your Patriot broadcasters and allows you the freedom to say things that I can't say on Facebook because I'll get kicked off Facebook if I say them. Like, for example, later on, we're going to have Donald Trump in the Oval Office talking about new cures. It'll probably get me suspended on Facebook because I'm talking about medicine. I'm not talking about anything. Donald Trump is. It's news. I don't know. But anyways, if we get to it. But those of you watching on Facebook and YouTube and whatnot, go find me on Rumble. Go find me on X. Watch me over there. So also, today's broadcast is brought to you by Elevate. Elevate. My wife has been taking Elevate, and it has changed. It has absolutely changed her life. And I've got to make this bigger so I can see it. Something tells me that that's not going to work. Why is it? Oh, I went the wrong way. Let's make it bigger. There we go. Never mind. I had it all popped up and now it's not. There we go. Now we got it. Somebody teach this guy how to do this. I had this all set up and then I messed it up. So, Elevate. My wife's been taking Elevate. The QR code at the top of the screen, wherever it is, you can click on that QR code. It'll take you straight to Elevate right now till the end of the month, till the last day of the month. They are throwing in a bottle of Boost for free. Boost. My wife takes the Boost every day too. If you sign up and take the Elevate, you get your Boost for free. And if you sign up now and put it on auto ship, you will always get your Boost for free. But you don't have to. Here's what my wife says about this one little product called Boost. Or excuse me, called Elevate. She says, I hit a wall and it was frustrating. 6 months on the shot. You know the shot, the one everybody's losing weight on. And I never lost more than 3 pounds. I felt like my body just refused to budge. But I switched things up and started taking a simple pill and boom, 10 pounds down, just like that. I have several other people tell me the same thing. Marine is saying that his wife is down 6 pounds and 3 inches. Same product. No crazy changes, no starving. As a matter of fact, last night we had pork chop sauteed in butter that I just picked up from the local butcher shop run by Mennonites, and I know for a fact that pig was pigging 2 weeks ago, so it was fresh and it was good. Anyways, just finally breaking through the plateau. If you've ever felt stuck, like your body just won't cooperate, I get it. But sometimes it's not you, it's just the wrong approach. I'm officially past the plateau, ready for more. Have you felt like this before? If you have, hit the link in the description section or send me a message to 660-620-2644 or a message to PatriotMikeShow@gmail.com, and we'll send you the link and help walk you through the process on how to get started. And you too can see if this stuff really, really works for you. All right. That's that as far as that segment. Oh, one more thing. I know. I wish you'd get started when the show's done. It's my show. I'll do what I want. By the way, this is how I feed myself and pay to keep this thing going without taking a bunch of money from the same people Tucker Carlson are taking money from. This is Eric War. I don't know if you know who he is, but he gives a description of something that I thought this was profound when I read it. Let me make that just a bit bigger. Doop, doop, for my blind eyes. Okay, here we go. He says, you can drive an Uber, but you can't build an army of people driving Uber and get paid while they're driving and you're not. That's the difference between active income and leveraged income. And most people never stop to think about which one they're building. In a traditional small business, and I can attest to this, the average startup cost in the U.S. is around $50,000. borrowed from friends and family and credit cards. You jump off the cliff and hope the idea works. And if you pull yourself out of that business, it's worth almost nothing. I agree, because you are the business. That was my problem with my car lot. Network marketing is one of the only models where you can actually create leverage, where you can build a team of producers and earn from their production. Not just in your own hours. The merit is where merit is. The only thing that matters, not seniority, not politics, not who you know. It's not easy. I'll never tell you that it's easy, but it's fair. And fair is rarer than most people realize. And so he talks about swiping through some of these posts, and that's fine. I'll share some of those posts that he put on there later time. But my point in this is, I know what it's like to spend a bunch of money to start a business, and my camera is going, woo. Once in a while it does that. I don't know why. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to put it all out on the limb, and then I know what it's like to have your business become a trap. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. It owns you more than you own it. But taking this approach, and think about it, if you could have 500 people driving Ubers and you got 1% off of everything they did every day, day in and day out, would that work for you? That's what leveraging income. See, when you watch Shark Tank, right? How many of you watch Shark Tank? They're leveraging, but they're spending millions and millions of dollars doing it. They're buying into somebody else's company to provide them with the systems and training needed to bring their company to the next level. But they have millions and millions of dollars to play with. So you could do that and make bets on people building a business where you are hands off, you're just supporting. And if they make it, you win. But do you have the millions of dollars to do that? I don't. So this is another approach. The problem is there's a bunch of these companies out there that give things a bad rap. And so how do you choose the right one? I think I found that. And if you want to know the story, send me a message. Send me a message to as I said before, right there. And we'll talk. All right. Well, Mike, why are you spending all your time talking about this? Well, because God told me, you're not supposed to sit there and beg the church for money. You're supposed to provide your own way. And this is how I plan on providing my own way when I go where God sends me. All right. I had to take a swig of lemonade to get my mouth working in the proper ways. I'm playing around with a new system that StreamYard has. We'll see how this works. All right. So as I was setting up my show, I felt God speak to me. And this was the post. Donald Trump shared this post yesterday. Stop telling us who broke the law and start telling us who was arrested. And God spoke to me and he said, we're not in the season of arrest. We're in the season of exposure. The arrest will come. The arrest will, but we're in the season of exposure right now. And this is what he said to me. He said, I'm saying, he said, we saw what Donald Trump read, the verse that he read in the Oval Office. It's the same verse I was talking about 2 years ago when we had our day of prayer, that we need to pray, fast, and repent for what our country has done. And I've said this to you before, what God said to me today, and that is May 17th is the day that Donald Trump has set aside to rededicate the United States of America to God. In the same way that verse reads in 2 Chronicles 7, if my people who are called by my name, that verse, what God said to me was between now I said this to you, that God pointed this out to me a month ago, and look where we are today. Look what's been exposed already between Eric Swalwell and the rest. Now we got the Southern Poverty Law Center. God says much more must come out before May 17th, because we need to know what we're repenting of. Does that make sense? That's what God is saying to me right now, that it's not about arrests right now. It's about exposure. We are in the season of exposure, and not all of it will be exposed before the 17th, but much of it will. Much more of it will, I should say. The words he used was much more. So get ready. That post I posted on Facebook that all the Pharisees and Sadducees came out against me on, because, they don't believe that the Holy Spirit does anything, but they believe in the Holy Spirit that he does things. Anyways, that's what God meant when he said, you ain't seen crazy yet. Crazy is coming, because God is about to expose much, much more as these next week or two go by. And I don't think it's going to be all of it, but it's going to be enough that the American people's, the American consciousness of the United States, it's going to be enough that we know there's a big problem. So somebody's saying, what's the 17th? Donald Trump has declared May 17th the National Day of, how did he say it? Rededication to God. That rededicating our nation back to under God, as the founders said in the beginning. So here's what Donald Trump read.
If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land.
If my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. This is a day of rededicating ourselves to God. What God has spoken into my heart about this day, it's not unlikened to, or it is likened to, in the Bible with the king. Somebody tell me which king this was. I can't remember off the top of my head. It was the young king. Was restoring the temple, and they found the law. Think about that for a second. The temple had been neglected, and the king is restoring the temple before God. And they found the law, so he brought the law out after he read it and had it read, had all the people, and he had it read before all the people. And when he read the law before the people, somebody tell me, what king was this? Was it Josiah? Somebody said Josiah. Famous Amos said Josiah. He's a Bible scholar. He's probably correct. I can't remember because I get them mixed up. I do feel the Holy Spirit on me right now, by the way. And he says, he reads it, and all the people, when they hear the word of the Lord and the law that and the law that was put by Moses, they rent their clothes and sat in sackcloth and ashes and mourned for several days before God. That is the rededication. I heard another prophet, I can't remember who it was, saying that when this day happens, it will create an accountability among God's people in the United States of America and the President of the United States that we must seek God in the intervening months and years after this. It will be known before and after this day as we rededicate our nation back to God. Because then you will have a choice. And if you choose wrong, it's not going to be nice. It's not going to be God. Jesus said he came to divide. Division is about to happen. So be prepared for whatever that means. Well, what does that mean, Mike? And 100%, I don't know what it means 100%. I just know God's given me a flavor. That's what I know. All right, on with the show. Thank you all for joining me. Here we go. Babylon B reporting tomorrow's news today in the form of satire. Democrats saving democracy requires one party to seize total control, total power, and rule forever. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Washington, D.C. Washington Democrats defend their unquenchable thirst for unlimited power on Thursday, confirming that saving democracy requires one party to seize total control or total power and rule forever. According to long-held American values, true freedom is only possible with the consent of the governed, a government by the people and for the people naturally disrupts authoritarianism and leads to lasting contentment. Democrats, however, disagree. The only way to protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness our founders envisioned is to wrest control of the government from the people and mandate love through unassailable government regulation, explained House Minority Leader King Jeffries, the good Baptist who believes in Sharia law. It's the only way to keep democracy alive. The consensus among lawmakers is that American democracy struggles under the weight of totalitarian ideas. Democrats, in particular, have warned that the increase in differences of opinion conflicts with their goals which are obviously democratic in nature because that's the name of their party. I know what you're thinking. What if we accidentally give control to Hitler? Laughed Jeffries while waving his hands around like he's controlling an aircraft. Just don't think about it. Give us unlimited power. Unlimited power. Let democracy die. Kill it if you have to, added Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. It's only way to save it. Remember when George W. Bush actually said that in order to save capitalism, we have to kill capitalism? Voters expressed doubt that giving unlimited power to Democrats would save democracy, but admitted that Trump must be really bad because Jimmy Kimmel said so. At publishing time, Democrat lawmakers clarified that the only way to preserve the free exchange of ideas is to completely eliminate anyone who has an opinion different than theirs, because you're allowed to participate in the free exchange of ideas as long as it's their ideas. And that's pretty much standard operating procedure, don't you think? Don't you think? And also, Babylon B, just because I thought it was good, 2 for the price of 1. Here we go. New evidence reveals Judas received his 40 pieces of silver from the Southern Poverty Law Center, Jerusalem, in a surprising new discovery that coincides with recent news headlines. Biblical scholars confirm that Judas Iscariot likely received his 30 pieces of silver from the Southern Poverty Law Center. In a new the new insight came as a result of theologians and investigators collaborating to dig into other instances of Southern poverty law centers covertly paying people to infiltrate and subvert organization it deemed to be problematic. With new unearthed parchments confirmed that Judas was paid the sum of 30 pieces of silver to work against the ministry of Jesus Christ from the inside. Looks like they've been doing this type of work for a long time, said Professor Clayton Rockstool, a Bible scholar who worked with investigators to uncover the truth. The Southern Poverty Law Center apparently found Jesus to be a threat to their psychopathical agenda and sought someone on the side to do their dirty work for them. The Southern Poverty Law Center then worked hand in hand with temple priests to have Judas work his way into the disciples to do their bidding and report back. He was up to no good, and the Southern Poverty Law Center was part of the whole thing. The discovery served to confirm that the Southern Poverty Law Center had been infiltrating conservative Christian organizations since the beginning. They wanted to bring Jesus down as much as anyone, Rockstool continued. The greed for Judas Iscariot gave them an in, and they needed to cause trouble. Thankfully, and very much unbeknownst to them, they were following right along with God's plan. At publishing time, the scholars also revealed evidence that the Southern Poverty Law Center had provided substantial funding for the Philistines during the reign of King David. And it's so, the Babylon Bee, tomorrow's news today in the form of satire. They are so on point with that. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
All night long, we gave the.
So here is Chucky Schumer. And on the DHS funding plan that passed through the Senate, by the way, they were able to pass the DHS funding plan. The Republicans were able to get their back, but not the Save America Act. No. No, we can't have that because it will take our power away.
All night long, we gave the Republicans a chance to do the right thing by voting for our amendments. We gave Republicans a chance to vote for an amendment to lower out-of-pocket health care costs. They said no. We gave Republicans a chance to lower child care costs. They said no. We gave Republicans a chance to stop insurance company delays, to protect school meals, to give people a hand at the grocery store. And Republicans said no, no, and no again. What kind of bubble are they living in? How apart are they from people's real needs? And instead, take that money, which should have gone to lowering people's costs, and giving to an agency that everyone knows needs reform.
So there's Chucky Schumering. But we gave the Republicans a chance. No, sir, you're not in the majority, you're in the minority. They get to dictate how it goes. We know that that's not going to happen. That's how it's supposed to happen. We gave the Republicans, you didn't give nothing. You tried to sabotage the deal. You tried to interfere. You tried to put your stupid programs in there to make sure the learning centers, the Leering centers get paid. That's what you did. Donald Trump says this about Chuck Schumer. He says, wow, crying Chuck Schumer just said for the whole world to hear that nobody respects Border Patrol or ICE. That is one of the most egregious, incorrect, unpatriotic, and dangerous statements I've ever heard from a professional politician. Notice he puts professional in quotes. He must immediately apologize to these great patriots, and I mean now, President Donald J. Trump. In order to figure out which mouse to use, we will get this on the screen. So then I just want to throw this while we're still talking about Chucky Schumer. I want to throw this in. They run around, They're saying Donald Trump's crazy. We need 25th Amendment him. He doesn't know what he's doing. Listen to this interview with Kilmeade from Fox.
You have a relationship with Donald Trump.
I saw him with you, 2 months ago? When he's like, Brian, that's a stupid question.
Do you know what the question was? I said, are you going to bomb Carg Island? And 6 hours later, he bombed Carg Island.
That's not a dumb question.
Brett Baer texted me, he goes, wasn't such a dumb question. And then I get a call, walking the dogs, from the president. He goes, why you ask me questions like that? So he goes, we blew the hell out of it. There's nothing left. He's like, there's nothing left. We just left the oil. Let them know what we're capable of.
On the phone, audience of one, you, nobody else. He talks exactly in the same way to the public as he does to you on the phone. Right? We blew it up. There's nothing left. Like the hyperbole is a constant with him, right?
Right. All I can tell you is it's real.
So a few hours before it happened, Kilmeade asked the president, are you going to bomb that island? And he says, why you ask me dumb questions? Why you ask... Then he bombs the island. Then he calls Kilmeade and said, don't ask me questions like that. I can't answer them at that time. I can't tell you I'm going to bomb the island. I'm not Joe Biden. You got to love this president because, what was it? Kim Clement says he's got hot blood. Hot veracity. I had to look that word up when I first heard it. I wasn't smart enough. Smart enough to get it. So and then he goes and bombs the snot out of the island and then calls him and says, you can't ask me those questions, even though I'm going to bomb the snot out of the islands. Here is Fox News and acting. No, he's not acting anymore. DHS Mullen, because he got confirmed. On Chucky Schumer.
Makes my ears red. It takes a lot to get me upset. But Chuck Schumer, no one respects you. The definition of a lying scumbag politician, that is you. You would be the definition if you Googled you right now. I mean, why don't he just come out and be honest with American people? He wants to have open borders. If you want to defund the Customs and Border Protection Agency, if you want to defund ICE, who is in there arresting the criminals that the laws were passed by you, you had time to change those during the Biden administration. You didn't, because you're for open borders and you're for the criminals running amok in our cities. And for you to say that is so disrespectful to the law enforcement that is out there protecting you, because he has a detail with him. How about he walks around these city streets without a detail? I wonder how safe he would feel.
Yep. And he needs to, by the way. Chucky Schumer needs to go out and be involved in gathering. There's a couple reports on my Telegram. I'm never going to get to it. There's a couple reports right now. One of them Mullen was talking about, of illegal immigrant criminals who were arrested for various charges and then immediately released and within days committed murders. If our system wasn't so compromised that we could round these people up and ship them home, there are hundreds and hundreds of people that would be alive today that are not alive today. And that's a shame. That really is a total shame. Here is let me find it here real quick. Let's see. We got a debate out in California. All right, it's this one right here. Donald Trump smacking down a reporter talking about the 2020 elections and the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Equal or greater than what they're doing, and they won't be happy about that. No, that's enough. You've asked so many things.
The Virginia Department of Elections earlier today and asked them if they had seen any evidence of election tampering, of fraudulent mail ballots being cast in the Tuesday election, or if there was any evidence of non-citizens voting in that election. Why did you say that that election was rigged?
Well, you have mail-in ballots, and they found a lot of them at the end of the day. All of
They
a
said that
sudden.
they have received no credible information related.
Well, I know you'd say that no matter what. You know, you've been saying that for years, and now they're finding out that the 2020 election was totally rigged. And when you look at what just, excuse me, how do you defend what just happened where your Southern law, whatever it is, has given money to KKK? They're supposed to protect people, and they're paying all these people, crooked as can be, millions of dollars going all to all these people that they'd be protecting from, but they're actually supporting them because they want to have companies that they can protect and because they want to rig elections. That was all a rigged election. All of the things with Charlottesville, all of the stuff that they did. And you won't bring that up, but you'll bring up some nonsense. Let me tell you, the election, we were winning all day long. It's a totally horrible, and hopefully the courts will overturn it, what they did in Virginia. You have a grossly incompetent governor. You had a very good governor. He did a good job. You know, all those companies that want to move into Virginia now, they want to move out and go to a different location.
So he smacks down this reporter, ties the Southern Poverty Law Center to the 2020 election and the election still. And let me tell you something. Understand, these next several weeks especially, we are in the season of exposure. We are not in the season of arrest yet. We are in the season of exposure. And we're about to find out. They effed around and we're all about to find out. God is the one doing this, not man, not Trump. Although he's using Trump as his tool, as his instrument, Trump will be a trumpet to trumpet the evil that's in this government. And after this season of exposure, however long that it is, will come the season of punishment and judgment. You see, for the last 10 years, we've been in a season of grace. That God has given grace to these evil doers to repent and turn from their wicked ways. But now we are not, now that grace has closed and we've come to the season of exposure. You see, God's going to reveal to the people all of the evil. And it's going to be you're going to be shocked. And you're going to be shocked at how much of this is tied together. He tied all this with 2020 and all the things that were done. And we're going to see. Well, and you got a point. It wouldn't do any good to arrest the crooks anyways, unless they're going to arrest all the judges first. You see, God is the unconcerned with our criminal justice system in this country, in the world. It's God's justice. It's the justice of Yahweh, the joy of the Lord. That's what's coming. I'm telling you, let me repeat it again. Take that statement. It's not going to do any good unless the judges. I don't care what the judges do. This is what God is doing. Let me justice of Yahweh. Let me just point out the word that God gave me that I've been repeating over and over again, that there won't be enough people in Congress, elected officials, to hold a quorum. Just think about that for a second. Just comprehend that for a second. And then when I say that people will self-deport either the country or the planet, what would make these people self-deport the planet? Huh? Exposure. God lifting their skirt over their head and exposing the nakedness beneath. Exposing the things that you tried to keep covered up. Whether or not it ever gets to a court of justice in this country or on this planet, God's justice and judgment is coming. Hear what I'm saying to you. God's justice and judgment is coming. The justice of Yahweh to those that believe and receive in this season, for those that humble themselves and pray and seek God's face and repent of their sins. those people will see the joy of the Lord. And those that reject this, that have done this evil in the next season, which comes after the exposure, which we're in right now, will receive the justice of Yahweh. Whether or not they ever see justice on this planet through the courts, they will see justice here and in eternity from God, because he will expose, he will embarrass, he will tear down, he will remove. You'll be removed from your positions, your offices, your social medias, your punditries, your cable news networks. You got to understand, cable news networks will cease to exist. Huge podcasts will cease to exist. Hollywood operations are going to cease to exist. Entertainment entities, NFL, NBA, WNBA, MLB, some of that will cease to exist. Politicians in their positions will be removed and exposed for who they are. That is the judgment. But right now is the exposure. And it's coming. Oh my goodness. Got to understand. Let me make another. I don't want to say that this is a prophecy, but God is inspiring me to think certain ways. And one of them is what the Southern Poverty Law Center has done and is doing. It is the model of operation of 99.9999% of these NGOs. Let me say that again slowly. What the Southern Poverty Law Center has done and the way that they have done it is the model of operation that is all of these NGOs. There may be one or two that aren't that way. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out how evil and wicked this whole NGO. You understand? Elon Musk has been saying we get rid of the NGOs, we get rid of the fraud, waste, and abuse. We balance our budget. We balance our budget without even taxing people. Just consider that for a moment, how crazy that thought process is. I'm looking for another post, and I think I've gone too far. I have gone too far. Oh, somebody teach this guy how to do this. I mean, let's see here. Okay. Okay, this is it right here. Yep. This is it right here. Nope, that's not it. Okay, we'll just skip over that. We'll go to the next one. I apologize. Somebody's got to teach this guy how to do this. I mean it. I mean it. Gee whiz. Okay, here. Oh, that's never mind. That's the same one. Okay, here's CBS reporting on the Southern Poverty Law Center.
40 years ago, the Southern Poverty Law Center bankrupted the Klan and later recovered millions from neo-Nazi groups, with lawsuits representing victims of violence. But Tuesday, the tables turned. The Justice Department charged the organization with fraud for allegedly misleading donors and lying to financial institutions by paying members of violent extremist groups millions of dollars to act as informants.
The SPLC was...
Okay, notice the spin. Notice the spin. That is the Southern Poverty Law Center spin, that the people that they were paying all this money to were acting as informants. In other words, they were infiltrating these organizations and informing on them. But as we will see as we go on today, that is not the case. That's the spin, but that's not what happened. Let's continue.
Act as informants.
The SPLC was not dismantling these groups. It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred.
Including the indictment alleges a leader of the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, who, quote, attended the event at the direction of SPLC, made racist postings under the supervision of the SPLC, and helped coordinate transportation to the event for several attendees. But Law Center interim president Brian Fair said the group had long used informants and called the indictment a political attack by the Trump administration.
They have made no secret of who they want to protect and who they want to destroy.
You have to wonder if this...
Attorney Scott Frederickson questioned the Justice Department's legal theories.
Can the federal government persuade a jury that the Southern Poverty Law Center was out there funding extremism for its own purposes, manufacturing racism? That's hard to believe. Obviously, they'll have their day in court.
But there have been calls to investigate the Law Center for years. In 1995, the Montgomery Advertiser was the finalist for the Pulitzer Prize for articles alleging that the center was misleading donors and wasting their money. And more recently, critics say that its hate watch list of extremists includes many mainstream conservatives. Tony?
Jen, thank you very much.
It includes many mainstream conservatives. Oh, and they're just trying to, they're trying to defend. You just don't understand. You don't understand the nuances. They were putting people in place. They were putting people in place to get information. If you're going to put somebody in place to get information, you can't put the guy who started the organization and then recruited the people and then set up the riot where somebody died. That's not infiltrating an organization, but that's what they did. Here is Data Republica, Republican small r. Is a thread how the Charlottesville rally and SPLC birthed the entire billion-dollar-plus democracy ecosystem. 11 federal counts, wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. But here's what the SPLC headlines are missing. The indictment describes a paid informant in the leadership chat that planned Unite the Right. The guy who created Unite the Right was a paid so-called informant from the Southern Poverty Law Center. That information helped coordinate transport to the rally at SPLC's direction. There is one publicly identified organizer whose documented roles was transportation coordinator. His Discord post about running over protesters were made 26 days before Heather Heyer was killed by a car. The indictment says posts were made under supervision of the SPLC. Charlottesville then became the founding event for a billion-dollar political machine. SPLC installed itself as the machine definitional gatekeeper. I report. You draw your own conclusions. As always, patience as I put this thread together. These are the facts. These are the evidence. Unlike Candace, this woman puts evidence out. I'm not going to go through it. You can go find it on my Telegram page and read it for yourself. Time's sake. It's not confirmed fact that Chinsley, who appeared to encourage running over protesters, was a SPLC informant, but the indictment, paragraph 11A, describes informant F37, and it matches Chinsley, member of the online leadership chat that planned Unite the Right, attended Charlottesville at SPLC's direction, made racist postings under SPLC supervision, and helped coordinate transportation for attendees. That's this guy. Now, here's why this matters. Beyond the fraud charges, Charlottesville became the single most consequential founding event in modern American political infrastructure. Every one of these organizations say in their own words that they exist or were transformed because of August 12, 2017. Stand Together, that's Cook Network. August 12, 2017 was a tipping point. Cook, Soros, Ford, ADL in one coalition. By the way, remember when the Cook Foundation was the conservative foundation that all the Democrats and everybody was all excited about during the Bush administration? Funny how that works out. And it was all because of Charlottesville. There's the receipts if you want to go see them. ADL founded Committees Overcoming Extremism. That's the Anti-Defamation League, by the way. That's the Jews. They happen to be Jews. They happen to, the Anti-Defamation League is about getting people to stop defamation on the Jews. I guess same thing. But it's really not that, as Rush Limbaugh pointed out in the 90s, that it's a communist Marxist organization, which is the real problem. It has nothing to do with Jews as the problem. It was literally named, this Committee's Overcoming Extremism, literally named after the event. Listen to First Project, the tragic events of Charlottesville. VA compelled Pierce to leave his marketing job and invest full-time. First event, listen first in Charlottesville. Now, I'm not going to play the video, but you can if you want to. Integrity First for American, founded in 2017, single purpose, sue the United Rights organizers, backed at founding by LinkedIn's Reid Hoffman. That's the Epstein fame, Reid Hoffman. One wound down, one event, one lawsuit, the entire organization. So let me read that again. Integrity First for America, founded in 2017, its single purpose was to sue Unite the Right, which was created by the Southern Poverty Law Center. And they did, and it went away. These are all people all together. UVA Democracy Initiative, known as Kirsch Institute, $12.9 million from 17 donors, direct response to the white supremacist attacks in Charlottesville. All of that traces back to one event. In September of 2022, Biden held the United We Stand Summit. Merrick Garland launched United Against Hate the same day. 3 days before the summit, the Southern Poverty Law Center wrote a letter to Susan Rice asking to define the terms and goals of our continued collaboration. And the ecosystem listed: National Civics League webinar, Mapping Americans' Healthy Democracy Ecosystem, over 10,000 organizations cataloged, and an audience member asks how they decided to get excluded, how they decide who gets excluded. And this is the answer. I'll go ahead and play this video.
That's an excellent question. I think we have tried to match the kind of definitions of hate speech that are currently prominently used by the organizations that track that, the Southern Poverty Law Center, ACLU. So we are aligning our decisions with what are generally accepted standards about hate speech.
Generally accepted by the organizations that they're involved with. The organization that defined who was a hate group asked the White House to make that role permanent. The organization that set the standards the entire ecosystem adopted is now charged with paying the people it was tracking. So the organization that was cemented permanent by the Biden administration, the Southern Poverty Law Center, that sets the standard on what is and what ain't racism, is the one that got caught paying to produce the racism. It's a grift. We need to ask, if the organization at the center of America's entire post-Charlottesville democracy infrastructure had a supervised informant, or worse, agent provocateur, inside the event that justified building that infrastructure, a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure designed to go after white Christian conservatives, what does that make the infrastructure? That's data Republican, excuse me. And then there's this post by Rob Cunningham, who sums it up. Not really a thumb up, it explains it. Lucy, we have some splaining to do. If you were to estimate the Systemic Southern Poverty Law Center, founded in 1971, sweeping fraud allegations made public by the Justice Department this week, if proven legally true via forensic audits, whistleblower testimony, FOIA evidence, judge, jury decisions, the damages inflicted on America will have been both economic and civilizational. What might the SPLC's sustained, institutionalized misrepresentation have cost America? Direct, measurable economic cost, a donor capital misallocation. If an organization appeared for 55 years with a national profile, even modest annual intake of 50 million to 150 million over decades is 2 billion to 6 billion total inflow. If a meaningful portion was fraudulently solicited, miscalculated capital likely in the 1 billion to 4 billion range, that's not just lost money, it's capital diverted from legitimate causes and compounding harm. B, the legal system burden. Defensive legislation, countersuits, reputational suits, public court time, judges, clerks, enforcement, large institutional litigation cycles can run 10 million to 100 million per case, per major case ecosystem. Over decades, hundreds of millions to low billions in cumulative legal friction. See tax shield exploitation. If tax exempt status was abused, federal plus state revenue losses, donor dedicates lowering taxable income, conservatively 200 million to 1 billion in foregone tax revenue. Indirect economic damage, the quiet giant. Reputational destruction, if entities were labeled or targeted unjustly, lost billions in revenue, employee impact, assurance, compliance, and PR costs. Even a few hundred affected organizations could yield 5 billion to 20 billion in downstream economic suppression. And B, capital distortions. Markets rely on signal integrity. Signals are corrupted, investors miscalculate capital, institutions overcorrect risk, entire sectors get stigmatized. This is subtle, but over decades, tens of billions in mispriced risk and lost growth. 3, social and cultural cost, harder but heavier. This is where the real weight sits. Trust erosion. Once people believe information is weaponized, labels are political tools, then institutions lose legitimacy, cooperation declines, Transactions costs rise everywhere. Economists often link trust collapse to a 1 to 2% GDP drag annually over decades. That's trillions of lost national productivity, social fragmentation. If narrative amplify division, which is exactly what their purpose was, increase polarization, reduce civic cohesion, escalation cycles, media, politics, culture, cost shows up as policy gridlock, security spending increases, reduces innovation and collaboration, moral hazard expansion. If bad actors succeed, other replicate the model. That's what I'm talking about earlier, that we're going to find out that these NGOs all practice the same thing. Fraud becomes normalized under case-based cover. Fraud becomes normalized under case-based cover. Fraud becomes normal. We have to give all this money to the leering centers of the Somalians because of white injustices. This is how corruption scales, not by size, but by permission structure. Psychological and spiritual costs, the soul question, strip away. This is a battle for the soul of our nation, Joe Biden said. Strip away theology and speak plainly. When truth is manipulated for gain, people become cynical. Good faith actors withdraw. Fear replaces discernment. The long-term effect, a nation begins to doubt not just institutions, but each other. That is the most expensive outcome of all. Total range, if fully proven, combining conservative ranges, direct and measurable 2 billion to 6 billion plus, indirect economic 10 billion to 50 billion plus, microtrust, productivity drag, potentially hundreds of billions to trillions over time. Final sobering principle. Fraud at scale is never just about money. It corrupts 3 layers simultaneously: capital, what we fund; information, what we believe; and trust, how we relate. When those 3 fracture, the system doesn't just lose efficiency, it loses coherence. The hard ground close. If and only if such findings are truly established in court of record, then the appropriate response is not outrage, but restoration through truth, transparent correction, restitution where possible, and structural safeguards to prevent reoccurrence. Because without truth, because justice without truth is tyranny, but truth without discipline becomes chaos. And that's pretty much what we're looking at right now. And then there's one more here. Let me see if I can find this one right here. They not only went one way, but they went the other way too. And here's the report. SPLC omitted over 200 reports of anti-white hate crimes. What are we talking about here? Following the indictment of Southern Poverty Law Center for counts that include fraud, bank fraud, and money laundering, it has resurfaced that the group failed to include reports from thousands of educators of anti-white language against students in the early days of the first Trump administration. Is that it? That's it. That's it for the story? Oh, read the full article. Here we go. The Southern Poverty Law Center, in partnership with the American Federation of Teachers, released a report in 2016 titled The Trump Effect: The Impact of the 2016 President Election on Our Nation's Schools. The report was based on a questionnaire that was circulated amongst teacher union members in K-12 schools who subscribed to the Teachers Tolerance newsletter. The report focused on the finding that 40% or more than 10,000 educators who responded to the survey had heard derogatory language directed to students of color, Muslims, immigrants, and people based on gender or sexual orientation. That takeaway from the report was that Trump supporting white kids have harassed minorities in school. That was later used along with a larger report on Trump-inspired hate crimes titled 10 Days After Harassment and Imitation in the Aftermath of Education. The report, however, did not mention the results of another question it had asked. Whether they agreed with the statement, "I have heard derogatory language or slurs about white students." The New York Post reported at the time that the SPLC initially said it was struggling to get information about the data from researchers when asked to provide it. When pressured, the SPLC spokeswoman, Christian Brokenkamp, revealed that in about 20% of answers affirmatively to the question, equating to around 2,000 respondents, the report released by the SPLC instead focused on anti-immigration sentiment, anti-Muslim sentiment, and slurs about students of colors in schools across the country. Former Education Department civil rights attorney Hans Bider said at the time they left that result out because it would not fit their ideological narratives and was deemed an inconvenient truth. The report has reemerged after the Department of Justice announced charges against SPLC. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche said in a press conference on Tuesday, according to the charges in the indictment, the SPLC is a nonprofit entity that purports to fight white supremacy and racial hatred by reporting on extremist groups and conducting research to inform law enforcement groups with the goal of dismantling these groups. As the indictment describes, the SPLC was not dismantling these groups. It was instead manufacturing the extremism it purports to oppose by paying sources to stoke racial hatred. And if you take all that right there and you add that with what Data Republican said, they set up the system. They created an entire ecosystem of hundreds of NGOs that funneled money, and it turned into a multi-billion-dollar industry. Tax-free, ladies and gentlemen. Tax-free industry. Just want you to be sure you understand what I'm saying. A tax-free industry. Everybody wants to go after the church and their 501c3s. But what they don't tell you about the 501c3s is that without a 501c3, churches are still tax exempt under IRS code. The 501c3 just allows you to deduct your payment so that you can not do what David did. But if these organizations lose their 501c3, they have to pay taxes on the money that comes in. And that's what a lot of it is really about. I'm not missing anything here. Oh, yeah. That's what it was. I knew I had it. Benny's show right here. Here's Benny talking about that. Benny Johnson talking about that on the Ingram show. I think this is the one. I hope this is the one.
I want to call for something, Laura. And I think it's really critically important. It's one thing to do the charges and the indictments. What the Trump administration must truly do to shut this down, this corporate scale fraud down, is to eliminate the tax exempt status. That's how they're able to funnel these donations in. That's how people are able to get write-offs. You must cut off the head of the snake, and that's the tax exempt status. Make them pay by eliminating that, and then no one will donate again.
And Carol says, not optimistic that the mountain of evidence will get any convictions. Get convictions out of your mind and think justice of Yahweh. Listen to what he just said. Nobody will donate again. Even if people don't get convicted, everybody wants convicted. Everybody wants conviction. Oh, and some will. Let me tell you something. Seditious conspiracy. This Southern Poverty Law Center is going to get tied up in the seditious conspiracy, and there'll be superseding indictments on top of it. And people are going to go to jail over that. The ones that don't self-deport the planet. So don't forget that. However, that's not what I'm trying to get everybody that watches my show to get that out of their mind and think of justice of Yahweh. Let God cook. Everybody was saying, let Trump cook. Let God cook. Let God do his thing. It'll be way better in the end. And the world will say there is a God in Israel and a God in the United States of America. Mark my words. It's going to get exposed. It's going to get exposed, and people are going to be shocked at the outcome of this. Here's Donald Trump on the Southern Poverty Law Center. There we go. The Southern Poverty Law Center is one of the greatest political scams in American history, has been charged with fraud. This is another Democrat hoax, along with the Act Blue and many others. If it's true, the 2020 presidential election should be permanently wiped from the books. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? Stop focusing on the Epstein. People got to get arrested and understand what God is doing here. What was it Kim Clement said? Another 2 terms. And then he changed it to 2 terms. The 2020 presidential election should be permanently wiped from the books and be of no further force or effect. Thank you for attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. We see, Carol, I know you believe in Jesus Christ as your Savior. Put your hope in him. Take it off the justicism, take it off the media, take it off Donald Trump, and put your hope in him. This is him doing it. This is God doing it. Donald Trump is just a tool that God is using. God used Moses and God used Pharaoh. Listen to what I'm saying to you. God used Moses to do his will because Moses was willing to do it. God used Pharaoh to do his will, even though unwilling to do it. You're about to see some things happen from the people opposed to God, doing God's will unwillingly. It is, I'm serious about this. Here's Waters talking about this. Stop focusing on arrests and perp walks and hangings at Gitmo, which I know we want the salacious stuff, and start focusing on the justice of Yahweh and what God is doing. When you see these things unfold, give glory to God. It's not about arresting people. It's about ending any opportunity for any of this to happen ever again, even though it will eventually come back around, but not in the next generation, if we allow God to do what God's doing.
Left built an industry out of scamming you, and business is booming. We give to charity, we pay taxes, we think the money's going to the right places. It's not. Perfect example. The left's favorite nonprofit, the Southern Poverty Law Center, built $1 billion industry on fighting racism. But the FBI says the whole thing was a scam.
The charity that supposedly fought the Klan funded the Klan. The charity that supposedly fought neo-Nazis funded neo-Nazis. The Southern Poverty Law Center ran a methodical, calculated scheme to defraud their donor base of $3 million and lied to them and used an illicit banking structure system to create shell companies to hide their money and who it was being sent to, specifically for the reason to sow discord and hate into our society.
So Democrats raised money to fight racism, but they were really paying for racists to spread it, while they grew their endowment to nearly $1 billion. And we just discovered a lot of that money is sitting in offshore accounts, which is weird for a nonprofit that doesn't pay taxes. It's starting to look like the point isn't to end racism, it's to keep it going so they can make money off it. You can't fundraise off a problem that you fixed. And no one does it better than California. Gavin's been fighting homelessness for 7 years. He spent $37 billion and the homeless population went up 24%. Democrats running for governor were asked to give him a grade. Roll it.
On effort, I would give him an A.
I would probably give him a B on homelessness. I don't think this has been an easy problem to solve, but I do give him a lot of credit for calling attention to the problem. When he campaigned 8 years ago, he was talking about housing when nobody else was.
Wow, by the way, I'd love to be in your class, Katie, if you get a B for what Gavin Newsom's done on homelessness. My goodness.
They're all in on it at every level. This is so massive that only God can do it. Just think about how far, just what I was reading from Data Republican, how far and how wide this is. And how much money. And as Waters said, that they had a bunch of money sitting in offshore accounts. Remember when the Doge was going on and we was all talking about the Doge and they were shutting down USAID, and I said that remember they were talking about one of the things that they shut down was that there was over 1 million people that didn't exist or that were dead that were receiving payroll from the government. Hey, Mike Hawk, how you doing, brother? Glad you're with us. Think about that for a second. There was over 1 million people receiving payroll. Understand, most people didn't get their mind wrapped around that. Understand what they just said there. You see, no one gets a check anymore that they have to go to the bank and deposit. You see, if I got a check in John Smith's name and I went to my bank and tried to deposit, somebody would question that. Wait. Especially if it was a government payroll check for $5,000 a month or more. Think about that for a minute. But instead, we do direct deposits. Instead, exactly, someone's cashing those checks, but it's not cashing checks. It's direct deposits. So somebody in charge of the payroll with authority to change the payroll or add or take away payroll was in there going send on the computer, creating a false account or creating a dead person account and having that money routed to a bank number somewhere in the Cayman Islands every month, month in and month out. Do you remember when Elon Musk and Doge called every federal employee to answer an email and they all got mad? I shouldn't have to answer no emails. Oh, that was a test. If you didn't answer the email, you were fired. Why? Because 1 million plus people that didn't exist with fake email addresses, fake employments, everything about that person was fake except for the routing number and the account number to the account in the Cayman Islands or in Belize or wherever they were sending the money. There were federal employees at a high enough level that they can manipulate this certain portion of the government, collecting multiple paychecks to offshore accounts, for their retirement. Nobody's talking about that. But here's what I'm telling you. This is not just there. It's everywhere. Everywhere the government writes a check, there's a massive amount of fraud, and that money's leaving our country and piling up in these government employees, government politicians' bank accounts. These accounts of dead people will end up being politicians. Mike's going right where I'm going. And that's part of the reason. As God rips this open and exposes that, and we find out that this politician and that politician and this bureaucrat and that bureaucrat has millions and millions of American taxpayer dollars sitting in bank accounts in the Cayman Islands or in Venezuela or in Cuba or in Iran or Ukraine, etc., etc., etc. You see where I'm going with this? Oh, yeah. This is a big deal. There's a reason why Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and the Biden entire crime family had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those, I forget what they're called now, where the bank notifies the government that there's something going on here. There's a reason why the Biden crime family had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of corporations, inside corporations, inside corporations, inside corporations, because they were hiding the money. Let me tell you, I said this before. The Bidens got billions of dollars from the Chinese, hundreds of millions of dollars from the Ukrainians and from the Russians and from everybody else. And they're broke today. Why is that? Because they were the bagmen. They were the patsies. They were the ones that were collecting the monies for everybody else from all fraud. There's several others that do that. That's what Act Blue does. That's what the Southern Poverty Law Center does. And then the Southern Poverty Law Center took that money and made a grift out of it. God's going to stop the fraud, Judy. Understand the prophet. You got to tie all this together to what God's been saying to us. He's been saying that we're going to go into a season of the harvest, and that there'll be a season of plenty during that season of harvest, where God's going to fund the United States of America to spread his gospel around the world, to bring in the harvest for a season. Well, where do you think those funds are going to come from? The wealth of the wicked is saved up for the righteous. The greatest wealth transfer. When you hear the Patriot mythologies pushes talking about that, they're talking about Nasera, Jacera, and all the other stuff. You'll own nothing and be happy. It's a wealth transfer from the world to the elite, but the greatest wealth transfer, because God's doing a boomerang on everything, will be from the elite, illegally gains funds, the wealth of the wicked saved up to the righteous, to be funneled back into the United States of America and Canada and Mexico, to spread the gospel around the world. And what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when every place in the world has heard the gospel? I mean, there's a guy on TikTok that's made millions of dollars going like that. What happens when the gospel spread around the world? Those of you that are it's the end times, it's the end times, it's the end times. Well, that's the end times. Southern Poverty Law Center pays zero taxes. They pay zero state and local taxes, zero property taxes on huge properties they own in Alabama, and they pay no sales tax on anything they buy from paper to cars, and they have $1 billion endowment hidden offshore. The Southern Poverty Law Center is like the mafia, but more corrupt. Don't limit how bad this is, but also don't limit how much God can do. This is way, 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 way bigger. Let me just add this one in there. It's everywhere, everything, all at once. We are in the season where God is revealing the evil. The season of judgment from God comes at. Was it Q said that it won't be safe to walk down the street? Isn't that what he said? Norm, this says right here, let's do Churchill. So it says, shocking SCOTUS betrayal. Legal expert Jonathan Turley advises that Chief Justice Roberts should call the FBI regarding the New York Times leaks. Remember, Roberts is close to the Obama friend Norm Eason. Is that how you say it? The lawfare king, color revolution expert who hosted him at his Prague palace. Donald Trump says Norm is a major sleazebag. You don't get much lower than him. Notice the things that Donald Trump is putting out. The things that Donald Trump is doing is not orchestrated by, I've tried to say this 2 or 3 times, and I don't know if I ever got it out. There was a prophetic word that was mentioned just the other day, and I don't remember the prophet's name. I'd recognize if I see him, but he said something along the lines of this, that it's not Donald Trump doing this. That the things that Donald Trump does, and you're thinking, how does this guy always get it right? It's the anointing that God has put on him. Donald Trump is a trumpet to trumpet the evil that's in this government. That's why Donald Trump gets it right every time. His instincts get it right every time. He says it with veracity. He says it with choice words that makes everybody mad. But he's exposing the evil that is in this government, in this nation, and in this world. And it's God doing it because we are in, it's Norm Eason. Well, it says Eason. I don't care. English is not my best, it's not my best language. It's my only language, but it's not my best. Yeah. Yep. Here's another story. Just in case you missed it.
This is a Fox News alert. A high-ranking Obama DEA official was just indicted for trying to help the cartel. Paul Campo conspired, allegedly, to launder up to $12 million in drug trafficking proceeds. Campo and an associate by the name of Robert Cincy are accused in the scheme of converting cash into cryptocurrency to buy 220 kilos of coke, worth about $5 million on the street, and then attempting to launder even more money, almost $750,000 from other drug sales for the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. These 2 gentlemen have been charged with narco-terrorism conspiracy to distribute narcotics, and as you can well imagine, also with money laundering conspiracy. Campo has pleaded not guilty, and he is in custody tonight. There's a good chance, Jesse, he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
And that's only the beginning. It's been prophesized that almost every politician from dog catcher to president has been receiving narco terrorist money. So is Fast and the Furious related to that? Could be, but Fast and the Furious was us smuggling guns to Mexicans, and somebody got paid for doing it, I guarantee. Elon Musk posted this. We pay people to be racist. He says, hear me out. Let's listen. This is good. We pay people to be racist so that we can fight racism. Think about that. We pay terrorists to be terrorists like Hamas and Hezbollah so that we can fight terrorists and then blame Israel. USAID. So we are here to know and understand what's really happening, is what Mike says. You'll be needed to explain to people what happened. A lot of people don't have a clue. This is true. This is very, very true. A lot of people are going to be shocked by this. You know, there's people right now that don't know anything about Eric Swalwell resigning, don't know anything about the guy down in Texas resigning, or McCormick resigning, or how many people have died in office just this year. They don't know anything about USAID. They don't know anything about the Southern Poverty Law Center. They don't know anything about a bunch of bank accounts in the Cayman Islands. They don't know anything about any of it. They just think Donald Trump bad because I was told. And there's a lot of Republicans falling for this Patriot mythology media BS, running around going, I voted for Donald Trump 3 times. I will never vote for him again because he's a danger to our democracy, a danger to our democracy, a danger to our democracy. The media, we've talked about it. I've had the guy from yournews.com. You should check out yournews.com. I've had him on here, and he's given the statistics that the average person to watch cable news is 70 years old. My daughter called me last night because she lives in Kansas City. There's a bunch of tornadoes and sirens and all this stuff. Turned out fine. She was fine. But the sirens are going off. The wind was blowing. The rain was coming down. She was freaking out. She called me to check the weather because she's never had subscription television. I said, well, turn on Fox News. She says, I don't have Fox News. I'm talking about the local station, the Fox News, the local Fox affiliate. Because whenever there's in their region a tornado, their weather team is live. So I said, okay. I got up out of bed as I just laid down, and I went and flipped on the TV and saw what they were saying and talking about. And I told her, you're fine. It's past you. You're okay. Everything's fine. And then about midnight, my son calls me, my youngest, because they live just outside Sedalia. And the storms are coming through and the sirens were going off. And he says, what do I do, Dad? And I said, I'm looking at it. I said, you're fine. It's way down the south part of the county. You're in the north part of the county, but they just sound the whole county when it's in the county. So you're fine. Don't worry about it. Don't panic. Because he doesn't have paid for subscription television. And the only place that they get their news from, now the big ones are all compromised and they're not talking about it. Is Tucker Carlson talking about Nick Shirley? Is Tucker Carlson talking about Eric Swalwell? Is Tucker Carlson talking about the Southern Poverty Law Center? Is Tucker Carlson talking about that guy right there that just got indicted that I just played? No, he's not. What's he talking about? The Jews are bad. Donald Trump is indiscriminately killing my brothers and sisters in Islam. You see what I'm saying to you? You see what I'm saying to you? Yeah, get these kids to buy a weather radio. I hear what you're saying, but it's on the phone. If it's not on the phone, it never happened. So instead of the first time around with Trump, it's a danger to our democracy. It's a danger to our democracy. It's a danger to our democracy. Or when George W. Bush was president, gravitas, 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 gravitas. Oh, good thing George W. Bush. I'm a strong Republican. I've only voted Republican. Good thing George W. Bush has got Dick Cheney to give him the gravitas because Dan Blather told me. See how it works? Now it's Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens. You see how it works? That's why people don't know, because they're walking around with blindfolds on. But let me tell you something. The veil is over the table. I've talked about that. Kim Clement said, I will fool the people. Kim Clement said, I've put a veil up so that you can't see. My mom, I know she's probably watching right now. She said, I don't think that's right. God would never put a veil up so we can't see. And I said, Mom, if we could see it and we did nothing, we would be guilty. But God's going to remove that and expose the ugliness and the nakedness and the things they didn't want you to see. He's going to expose it all, from the bank accounts in the Cayman to the Brokeback Mountain in the White House. I just said that. Benghazi too. I left out Stu Peters. I'm sorry. God's about to expose this. God's going to remove the blinders from their eyes. And they're going to be in shock. Those of you that have been following shows like mine, shows like Charlie, shows like Aaron's, and those off the top of my head, those are people I know. Even Darlene, even though she's having some issues right now, but God bless her. Those of you that followed these other shows, and there's several out there, your mind is way more prepared for what's coming than they are. You have an advantage. You have an advantage. And I need to get on with the program here because I'm running out of time. Just think about this for a second. And I'll go a little bit longer if I have to because there's some things I want to get in. No show after the show today. It's Friday. I got to go take care of some stuff. It's Friday. It's payday. I got to go grocery shopping. Woohoo! The only place to go grocery shopping in our neck of the woods is Walmart. The local grocery, there is a grocery store, but it's 3 times as much. I can't afford it. It says, well, the Obama Foundation sent money to the Tides Foundation. The Tides Foundation sent money to the Southern Poverty Law Center. The Southern Poverty Law Center sent money to the KKK. What a tangled web of treachery. What a tangled web of treachery. We'll get back to that one in just a second. I think this is the one that I want right here. Listen to this. No, I don't mean bless her heart. I think she's a wonderful person. I think that she is caught up in this disinformation that's being put out there. It's hard. It's hard. That's why I tell you guys don't do it because I'm anointed by God. Like Donald Trump is anointed by God to do what he's doing. I'm anointed by God to do what I'm doing. I have protection. I don't get caught up in this where it hurts my soul. And there's still stuff that I just pass on because I don't want to deal with that. That's too dark. Okay, listen to this.
This is absolutely bonkers. Have you read the indictment that was issued yesterday for the Southern Poverty Law Center? Have you read it? Have you seen some of the people that they've been paying over the years? So I'll remind you that the Southern Poverty Law Center is supposed to be an organization that exists to expose radicalism, to expose extremist groups. And yet they are now accused of paying over $3 million for people who are actively involved in these organizations. So I'll try to walk through these quick just so you can get a flavor of exactly what these radical leftists were doing. And when we're done, you're going to have to ask yourself the question, is any of this extremism that we've been bombarded with over the last couple of decades, is any of it actually real? Because they were paying a member of an online leadership chat group that planned the Charlottesville riots. That's right. One of the people that they were paying $270,000 was an organizer of the Charlottesville rally. Do you remember Unite the Right, where they had the good people on both sides nonsense? They were paying somebody who was affiliated with a neo-Nazi organization called the National Alliance more than $1 million. And at the same time, this person was actually out committing crimes while being paid by the Southern Poverty Law Center. They were paying an imperial wizard of the United Clans of America. That's right. They were also paying somebody who was an officer with the National Socialist Movement and the Aryan Nation affiliated with Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club $300,000. This next person was the chairman of the National Alliance. The SPLC website contained an extremist website about this particular person at the exact same time that they were paying him $140,000. That's right. They listed the individual as an extremist on their site while they were paying this person. And they were doing the same thing with this one. That's right. National Socialist Party of America. This person was a former director of a faction of the Aryan Nation and a former member of the 3K Club. Paid $70,000 at the same time that they were listed on the website as an extremist. They also were paying other members of the 3K Club, one in particular who was married to one of the Exalted Cyclopses. Do you remember that group of dudes that would show up everywhere wearing the face coverings and the khaki pants, and everyone thought that they were just a group of feds out stirring up trouble? Well, it's starting to look like they weren't feds after all. In fact, they were paying, the SPLC was paying a national president of American Front, somebody who was also a convicted felon. Yeah, none of this crap is real. None of what you've been experiencing in this country over the last couple of decades is real at all. And this is just the beginning.
It is just the beginning. That's why I'm talking about all of these NGOs. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the standard. This is Saul Alinsky 101. The standard operating procedure. Blame your enemy for what you are doing. Let's think about that for a minute. That's exactly where they are. Here's Dan Bongino a little bit more after the Southern Poverty Law Center comes out, and listen to what he says real closely.
I warned you yesterday on the show that the reason FBI Director Patel was a target of a ridiculous story, they couldn't get him up, we needed breaching tools or whatever. Once you see this op, the Doomer op, you can never unsee it. Department of Justice, so it's happening now. Justice Department announced an indictment against the Southern Poverty Law Center for secretly funneling more than $3 million in funds to members of white supremacist and extremist groups. Really? I thought they were... Now, these are allegations. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty. That is how the process works, and I mean it. However, these are very serious allegations. I thought they were fighting extremist groups. The allegations in the report are that they were funding them too at the same time. That's kind of weird. But I found it awfully weird that this attack timed on Cash about BS stories about they couldn't find him or whatever. He magically disappeared like Casper the Ghost or something. I found the timing of it weird because, you know, a lot of this stuff is going to eventually come out. As a matter of fact, the media report made me believe something was going to come out. The op is clear. The Doomers throw it out there. The liberal media picks it up. They both want Trump gone. So then I noted this on yesterday's show where I said to you, starting to make sense now. I put it out on Twitter. That didn't take long. All starting to come together.
See, Dan Bond, you got to understand, this was a grand jury that set out these indictments. It was DAs and other government agents that put the indictments on the Trump, not grand juries. Stuff would have never passed a grand jury. This was a grand jury, so they had to convince a grand jury with the preponderance of evidence. Now, the standard in a jury trial is beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a higher standard. But again, this isn't about just getting people arrested and perp walked and all that stuff. I know that's what everybody wants. This is about God. This is about God exposing. This is about God showing you what's really going on.
Coming out of the woods, carrying torches, their veins bulging from their necks, carrying Nazi swastikas, and chanting the same exact anti-Semitic bile that was heard in Germany in the early 30s. Neo-Nazis, white supremacists, the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, the Ku Klux Klan. Yes. Remember, it was Joe Biden in the early days whose mentor was a Ku Klux Klan guy. So always forget that. You know, it was the Democrats that started the Ku Klux Klan. It was Hillary Clinton that said her favorite person in the whole wide world was Margaret Sanger. And we're supposed to all forget about that. Here's Dennis Prager asking questions about what's going on with Tucker Carlson.
What the hell is going on with Tucker Carlson? And the reason why I ask that is not because I have some sort of animosity towards him. I don't. I've been a fan. But now he's talking about how he's sorry he misled people. Seriously. This is the guy that was calling out the election of 2020. This is the guy that sat on Fox News every night, and it was must-see television. The last time I talked about him, I got flooded with emails and from all sorts of contact from people saying, I'm with you. We used to watch this guy every night. This is the same guy that was basically campaigning for President Trump and met with him at Bedminster in New Jersey and looked like he was all for Trump and let's go, man. This is going to be so much better than Biden. He's now like going even further than he's gone recently. Because remember, he went to Israel not long ago and interviewed Mike Huckabee, our ambassador to Israel, and that was quite a back and forth. Depending on who you see post the videos, Huckabee got the best of him or he got the best of Huckabee, depending on who you believe. But Tucker has made this complete 180 to where he no longer supports Trump. And in fact, he's apologizing for showing any support and telling his viewers and his followers that they should have supported. He's literally saying, I'm sorry I misled you. Don't believe me. I'm going to play. He sat down, I guess, with his brother Buckley Carlson. So it's Tucker and Buckley Carlson talking about Trump and what Trump is or isn't doing. And when you hear him talk about this, I want you to ask yourself, does he mean he should have pushed for Kamala Harris?
You and I and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him, I campaigned for him. I mean, we're implicated in this for sure.
Yes.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind, or like, oh, this is bad, I'm out. It's like in very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I'm wondering what the hell he's talking about, and I don't know. What is he so up in arms about? Most of the Middle East wants the theocracy gone in Iran. This isn't just an Israel thing. He's going to blame Israel in a second. This is about most of the Middle East and most of the world wants the theocracy gone because it is bad. It's bad for the Middle East. It's bad for us because they attack Americans anytime they can. It's bad for the EU. It's bad for NATO. It's bad for Asia. It's bad for everybody. So I don't know, like he's got those who are listening, he's got his arms crossed. And now we're seeing a shot of his brother, I guess. But he's got his arms crossed as he's saying this. He's being very meek and very humble. And I don't know. I mean, we're on the hook and it's sort of we're to blame. It's very weird. It just is.
So I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be.
We're going to be tormented by it for a long time. That you supported the guy that basically agrees with you on 95%.
Yep. And that's what my answer is to these people are going, I voted for Donald Trump 3 times. Have you seen it? It started out with the Tucker types. And then now I've got friends locally saying the same thing. And I said, yeah, you should have voted for Kamala. I'm not saying I voted for Kamala. I'm just on the hook for Donald Trump. What is Donald Trump doing? He wants to drop nukes. He wants to drop nukes. Didn't you see the guy going around saying that somebody actually called me, a friend of mine called me on this, that the guy's going around saying that the inside secret source said that Donald Trump was fighting fighting for the nuclear football to launch nukes on Iran. I said, that's not how it works. He goes, what do you mean that's not how it works? That's not how it works. There's a guy, he's a colonel or a major. He's appointed by Donald Trump and the Secretary of Defense. His job is to walk around everywhere the president is. There's usually more than one, by the way, because like somebody has to sleep. And hold the nuclear football, and what you think is in that, you have no idea. And neither do I, and neither do all these other idiots out there, because that's secret stuff, classified. And if somebody was in the know would tell you what's going on with that, they go to jail. Yep. That's true. So the nuclear football, these Patriot mythology people out there say Donald Trump was fighting over the nuclear football like he was fighting over the beast limousine on January 6th, and they wouldn't give it to him. That's not the way that it works. The single arbiter for nuclear retaliation or nuclear launch in the United States of America, no one has the authority to launch nuclear weapons. No one, except for the President of the United States. Whoever sits in that seat is the only one that can launch nuclear weapons. The only purpose of that guy is to carry that bag. And so when the president says, give me the bag, you give him the bag. That's it. That person that carries that bag around, I guarantee you, they don't have enough clearance to look in the bag. They don't do stuff like that. They've been doing stuff like that. You know, my dad told me that he used to guard the SR-71 when he was a MP in France in the airport, and he said he was not allowed to turn around and look at it. He'd stand outside and guard it, but he wasn't allowed to turn around and look at it. Yeah. Same thing with this. I guarantee you the same thing. He doesn't know what's in there. He assumes. That's the truth of the matter. You got to stop listening to these people, because they have, anytime anybody anywhere says they have some sort of top secret information coming from some sort of top secret place, they're lying. Or the person that's telling them these things is running them like they're an agent. Because that's not how it works. It's not how it works. Why the heck would they tell you, you third-rate podcaster? Now, when John Solomon says my sources, I believe John Solomon has sources because I believe John Solomon is the outlet in which the administration is telling the things they want out. I pray this morning that people's eyes will be open and they know that they have been deceived. Yep. Here's Megyn Kelly. This right here is a masterpiece of psychological BS. This is the most narcissistic psychological crap that I've seen come out lately from any of these people. Listen to this.
Like his personality. Yeah. But then the other truth of it is there are aspects of his personality which are obviously not good and that we've mostly just chosen to overlook. You know, he's not a moral man. He's obviously not the greatest husband in the world. And he's extremely petty and thin-skinned, extremely petty and thin-skinned.
No, you're extremely petty and thin-skinned. And let's ask his wife what kind of husband he is. You're projecting yourself on him, but let's continue.
Greatest husband in the world. And he's extremely petty and thin-skinned, extremely petty and thin-skinned. And what we're seeing right now is he's turning on his most loyal supporters because they don't support this war and getting in bed with people who fucking hate him and have hated him from the beginning and were the original Never Trumpers, as though that's what MAGA is. That's what his course.
Okay, I got to stop right there. Megyn, you are the one that effing hates him. You are the one who didn't like him from the beginning. You were never Trumper from the beginning. You're a never Trumper now. You used to proclaim yourself as a never Trumper. You were the one that asked the question, the gotcha question. You thought he had him. You were going to ruin his career. You were the one. You were the one that asked the question about women. And he's the one that destroyed you. in a moment, because Donald Trump isn't petty. Donald Trump is calculated and anointed, and he talks like a New York businessman, builder, construction worker. Thank you for that, Mike. I appreciate it. He says, good morning, Mike and Patriot family. Appreciate that very much. When Donald Trump said, I can't remember her name now, I just drew a blank. Only, what's her name? He held his finger up like this. Only Rosie O'Donnell. Only Rosie O'Donnell. You talk bad about women. You call women this, that, and the other thing. Only Rosie O'Donnell. Donald Trump destroyed you, Megyn Kelly, right there. And he proved exactly. You see, Donald Trump comes out and says bad things about Rosie O'Donnell, and these so-called geniuses on the left, and Megyn Kelly's one of them. And trust me, I'll talk good about Megyn Kelly when she says the right thing. I'll talk good about Tucker Carlson when he says the right thing. But this is the wrong thing. And he destroyed you because they try to go, he says this about all women. And then if he goes out and says Hakeem Jeffries is Timu Obama, he's a racist against all black people. And he comes out and says that AOC is an idiot. He's a racist against all Latinxes. Did you say Kleenex? No, Latinx. That's the way they want you to say it. And then you talk to the Latino people. You talk to the Spanish people. And they go, what the heck are you talking? What's Latinx? What do you mean? But that's how they do it. That's what she's doing right here. This is the PSYOP.
Support should look like. Meanwhile, there are many who are over here who have loved Trump for many, many years. We've had our skirmishes in the past. Tucker's had skirmishes with him. I have too, but who fought harder than a lot of others during the lawfare against him to make sure people knew that it was bullshit, stood up for him during the actual electoral contest to make sure people understood what was at stake and why he had to be the choice, who he just, there's no loyalty in return ever from Trump, ever. If you have a principled disagreement with something he does, you're otherized. You're the enemy. And at this particular moment,
there's plenty of loyalty. He's just not loyal to disloyalty. And let me ask you a question, Megyn. What is your principle stand? What is your principle stand against Trump? Well, this war of Jews, the Jews made him do this war. He just told Bibi Netanyahu that Bibi had to do peace with Lebanon. Just had a big to-do at the White House about it. They got a 3-week ceasefire. But the Jews. Well, Megyn, when you're getting paid by Qatar and you have to speak the Islamic line, you talk just like the Muslim Brotherhood. What are your principles? 40,000 civilians were killed. They just hung people yesterday. Innocent people hung for protesting their government in Iran. And you don't give a damn. What are your principles? He wanted war for the Jews in Venezuela. What are your principles? We went into Venezuela. We took the evil dictator drug lord out of Venezuela. And now we're working with the government of Venezuela who are like, everything's cool. We're good. We're fine. Mr. President, you don't need to send another helicopter. We're good. And now he's getting ready to straighten out Cuba. Oh my God, he wants to go to war with Cuba. He's going to draft all our daughters and sons and send them to Cuba and we're all going to die. Same story. What are your principles, Megyn Kelly? Because I don't think you have any. By virtue of the fact that you were never Trumper, now you're a never Trumper, and in between you pretended to be a Trumper so that you could get an audience from the MAGA folks, which you purport to say that Donald Trump is losing. But CNN, the right-wing rag CNN is reporting that 100% of the people that were with Trump from the beginning are still with Trump. The only people that aren't with Trump are people like you that were never with Trump to begin with. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens, and the rest. Like Ron Paul, who was never Trumper from the beginning. Like Thomas Massey, who was a never Trumper from the beginning. But then again, at least I respect Thomas Massey and Rand Paul more than Marjorie Taylor Greene and more than Megyn Kelly because they've always been who they are. I'd rather have an enemy in front of me than a frenemy behind me. Ain't that right, Marjorie Taylor Greene? Let me continue.
So many of his core supporters, biggest believers and boosters, and running to people who have not been able to stand him for 10 years, like a Mark Levin or a Ben Shapiro, who actively was against Trump. He was a total DeSantis guy. He only went on board with Trump when DeSantis was, of course, toast, and he had no choice.
Let me explain that, especially the Mark Levin one. DeSantis was running against him for president. So, all's fair in love and war. But let me explain the Mark Levin one. Mark Levin was a never Trumper at the beginning. He didn't like Trump. Didn't understand Trump, didn't speak Trump's language. Trump wasn't part of his kind of guy. But after Donald Trump won and started doing Trumpism, Mark Levin came around. He did a show where he apologized, had Trump on, apologized to his face, said, I didn't think that you were going to do a good job, but here you are doing it. And he hasn't wavered from that. But the reason she brings him up, because he's an evil, disgusting Jew. Oh. But when your handlers are paying you from Qatar, you get what you get. You don't throw a fit. And here's another thing. I probably should go watch this because I'm curious of what he says. Because he's trying to work out his faith. She is not.
To save his audience and get on board with the Republican nominee, whatever. It is what it is. It is what it is. But there's still, in my view, a lot to like about Trump. It's just some of those darker demons are much more in the front view right now because he's like a cornered animal. He's got no support in this Iran war. He can't bring it to an end. These are tough motherfuckers who are not doing what we want them to and coming to the negotiating table and giving us what we want so we can get out and just declare it a win. He sees his poll numbers are now, his latest poll approval on Iran was 30%. I mean, his job approval in like the last 5 polls has been in the low 30s. So his legacy's on the line, and you can tell, he can tell. So he's acting out in a very, very bad way. And my prayer every night, Russell, is that he will get back on track. He will reconnect with what, the agenda that we put him in office to enact. He will extract himself from this very money-driven agenda by the Miriam Adelsons of the world. She's purchasing what she wants, and Trump's being manipulated into doing it, which is infuriating. And that the country, or at least those of us who are on what I call Team Sanity, can come back together and work to defeat these crazy leftists like James Carville, who wants to pack the Supreme Court and add Puerto Rico and D.C. as states, right? Like, the Republicans will never win another national election if we do that. Anyway, it's a very tumultuous time.
Now, did you hear the last part? Her advice to Donald Trump about the war and all that jazz. Did you hear that? Did you hear what she said? Let me show you something. Because I noticed something there. Her talking points. I wonder if Megyn Kelly really believes what just came out of her mouth, or are they just the talking points that she's been given? Because let me show you something. Here's John Kerry, who served in Vietnam.
If I were President Trump, I'd be really concerned that he started out against foreign wars and for lowering the cost of living for average citizens in America, and the exact opposite has happened.
Given the role that you did play in this and dealing with the Iranians, what advice would you give to either the president or his team that is on the ground, sitting across from them if these talks happen again and trying to get a deal with them?
Don't play games. Just be very direct and very clear about what the needs of the nation and the world are, that we all expect. That it be clear that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. What President Trump now has to do is, frankly, get them to again agree to what they already agreed to, which should underscore the absurdity of the situation that we're finding ourselves in.
See what Megyn Kelly said? You see what he said? Donald Trump needs to go back to the negotiating table and do the negotiating we did before that basically gave them nuclear weapons. You know, maybe Donald Trump should fly in millions of dollars on in pallets of cash. Donald Trump needs to go back to the rules-based world economic system and negotiate with Iran in good faith based upon that system, not bring down the entire system. Iran right now, they're done. They're cooked. They got nothing. They got nothing. They don't even know who's in charge. They've got different fractions saying different things. That's the reason why, at the request of Pakistan, he's given them a few more days to figure it out. That's what's going on for real. Yet we got these experts on foreign policy like John Kerry, who served in Vietnam, and Megyn Kelly telling him we need to do it the way we've always done it. And as Mike said in the chat room, if you do it the way you've always done it, you'll get what you always got. No, he's got them by the gonads right now. They ain't got nothing. They ain't got nothing. No leg to stand on, nothing. That's just the reality of it. And it doesn't matter how much you want this to work out a different way, or how you want it to be, or how you feel about it. It doesn't matter. The truth is the truth. I mean, if Megyn Kelly had her way and John Kerry had his way, we would be negotiating with the Supreme Leader, and we'd be going, oh, please, Mr. Supreme Leader, please don't hit us with any nukes. And you be nice and let the inspectors in. If you just be nice, if we'll give you more money, if you just be nice. Instead, we're not negotiating with the Supreme Leader because he's dead. We're not negotiating with anybody in his cabinet because they're all dead. We're not negotiating with the top generals because they're all dead. We're negotiating with the trash truck driver and the maid that cleans up. And they're vying amongst themselves for power. And you know what? Donald Trump doesn't care. It can take as long as it takes. Because if they don't follow through, he'll just kill them too. And then we'll negotiate with somebody else till we get to the person that will negotiate in good faith. Speaking of, here's Ilhan Omar next up to bat.
To reporters, not to the Minnesota House Committee on Fraud Prevention. You've got the issue of her family estate. Disclosures show she and her husband, Tim Minette, went from debt to anywhere between $6 and $30 million in 2024. A few weeks ago, a new disclosure was filed stating their combined assets were between $18,000 and $95,000. Her office blamed the discrepancy as much as $29 million on an accountant who failed to subtract the liabilities of Minette's businesses. Then you have the Feeding Our Future scandal. Omar championed the Meals Act, which Republicans say removed the guardrails. Meals were billed to taxpayers but never delivered, to the tune of $250 million. A player at the center of the scandal is a partner in what was the Safari restaurant. Omar held campaign and promotion events there. The Minnesota House Committee wants to ask questions on both subjects, but Omar does not respond.
It's just another example of disrespecting Minnesotans. She thinks she can get away with things like this because she's, a powerful politician, but Minnesotans are fed up. Minnesotans in her district are fed up. They really care about how their money is spent.
Robbins sent another letter to Omar's office requesting disclosures about communications with and donations from people convicting in the Feeding Our Futures program. Reporters have tracked her down, and they never get an answer. My team has reached out to Omar's office. Also, no answer. The only communication we've got is that statement from her office blaming the $29 million discrepancy on the accountant. John?
She seems to have a lot of problems with accountants. Mike, tell it for us.
When we find out how much is in her foreign bank accounts, that's where we're really going to know the truth. And I said what I said. and I don't really care. I don't. Ilhan Omar will not be deported, and she will not self-deport. She will spend a long time in prison because she is one of the leaders and organizers of the fraud.
Have that paperwork. We know she did this, and now we're looking for how to take action. Can you fill us in? Do you know what's going to happen? Is the Trump administration going to go there? The floor is yours.
The whole file is being reviewed. A lot of smart people are on it. Stay tuned.
Could you color for us what of the elucidated and many crimes there are that it could be? Because
I cannot get ahead.
There's like a lot of potential things that could have been there.
I can't get ahead of the investigation, but I know that some of this. I know people that are involved in the review, and they're really smart people, and it's in good hands.
All right. It's in good hands. Okay, we got the Allstate endorsement from Tom Homan, and
Tom Homan says, JD Vance, or not JD Vance, we're talking about JD in the chat room. Dan Bongino says it's coming. I believe them before I believe Megyn Kelly or Tucker Carlson or anybody else that says, I have deep, dark, secret inside sources that tell me. No, you don't. No, you don't. Here's Hakeem Jeffries as he's asked by a reporter about Ilhan Omar, and he don't want to talk about Ilhan Omar.
Hi, Leader Jeffries. Good to see you. Just curious to get your thoughts on Ilhan Omar's financial disclosure. Does all of the scrutiny around that concern you at all, and does that warrant an official House ethics investigation?
That issue has not been brought to my attention, but we do know that Ilhan Omar, who works hard on behalf of the people that she represents in Minnesota, is constantly under attack by right-wing conspiracy theorists.
Well, what about her net worth going from 30 million to now under 100,000? Do you believe that's truly an accounting error, as she alluded to?
That's not an issue that I'm familiar with.
What about her winery that she is now dissolving from her financial disclosure?
We're working to stop this reckless war of choice in the Middle East, get the economy back on track, win this gerrymandering war that Donald Trump started that we're going to finish. It's not an issue that I've been locked in on to date.
So what do you think about Ilhan Omar, Mr. Jeffries, and her $30 million embezzlement? What do you think about that? This is not anything that I know about. I haven't discussed any of this. Ilhan Omar is my Lord and Savior and has come here to free America from the evil Christians. And it's a right-wing conspiracy theory. Bullcrap. They've had panicked meetings behind closed doors. I don't know anything about it. I haven't heard anything at all. Bullcrap. 100% they've had big time conversations on this. And what's going to happen, I'm telling you, TikTok, 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 just like Eric Swalwell, a Democrat is going to spill the beans when they get when she becomes too much of an anchor for the party. They're going to turn on. You got to understand, the Democrats and the Republicans, if they make you, they can break you. Here is Nick Shirley up in Omar's office.
Here is the Representative Ilhan Omar. Today we're here in the fraud capital of America. We're here in Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. Here you have some of the best stock traders and top fraudsters like Ilhan Omar. Right now, we're going to give her a new hoodie. She took the last Leering Center hoodie. We have a new one asking, where did our tax dollars go? And we want to see if she'll become a member of the Anti-Fraud Taxpayer Club. Now we've made it to Ilhan Omar's office. Here is the Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. There it says abolish ICE. I think we should abolish fraud here inside the United States. Let's see if they'll take the hoodie. Hello. How are you doing? Is Ilhan here by chance?
No. Look at this dude.
She's not. Well, we wanted to see if she'd become a member of the Anti-Fraud Taxpayer Club. We actually have a new hoodie for her right here. And we were just wondering if you could deliver this to Ilhan. Thank you so much. And tell her that we wish to abolish fraud here inside the United States as well. Will you do that? And also, I met this really cute British girl, and she wanted citizenship, and I was wondering like how that would work out. All right, they're calling security. You guys, you can go ahead and become a member of Anti-Fraud Taxpayer Club. Go to antifraudclub.com. You can even cop yourself a hoodie, and now let's leave Capitol Hill.
Everybody go to antifraudclub.com. Why not, right? Hey, it's Friday. It looks like it's being a nice weekend. If you're in the area, and you want to come out, we're having our embassy banquet. It's catered by one of the great barbecue places in town. Is it Colton? No, it's not Colton. I don't remember. I'm not going to say. One of the great barbecue places in town. And come on out, 6 o'clock, the big church on Thompson Boulevard. It's a beautiful church. It really is. They just built it. Well, they built it the last couple of years. But it's come on out and join us. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be an auction. It's going to have food. Rescue Johnson Auctions is going to be there. And it's going to be great. And I don't know what I'm very much not involved in setting it up this year like I should have been. And other stuff going on. But I will be there running the sound and being a part of it. So if you want to come on out. Tickets are $25. You can pay at the door. And we'll be glad to have you. But other than that, enjoy your weekend. And don't worry about it. Because come Monday, we'll talk about it. And I'm sure there'll be something to talk about. It's been really hard coming up with something to talk about lately. I'm just saying. Anyway, you have a great day. Patriot Mike is out.